hello everybody. Welcome to our show. You're listening to a Mexican Crossing Lines PsyOp BS show number 8.
Part 8.
Part 8. 8 of many. Share with your friends. Let them know we're online. We're on KPPP LP 88.1 Fargo Moorhead. We're on a Mexican Crossing Lines on Twitch. We're on Duke 1517 on YouTube and 88.1 Fargo Moorhead Radio on Facebook.
That is correct. This is a Mexican Crossing Lines PsyOp BS Bullcaca.
Part 8.
Correct. And this is a continuation in rebuttal to a podcast series put out by the Bunker Crew and the Midas Touch.
Yeah.
It is a silly rantings of a lunatic that amount to a whitewashing of what happened at Standing Rock and afterwards by Wes Clark and the PR crew of people that he has surrounding him. The people that are part of a cult that he claims he was sucked into at Standing Rock. I'm going to break this whole thing wide open for you to understand what really is going on.
That's right. If you want to get a hold of us, you can call our call-in line and leave a message at 701-566-0917. Again, that's 701-566-0917. You can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can find us on Twitter at Mediascore PPP.
Did you realize that in 2016, when there was a protest camp here in North Dakota, that the group of people that came out, amongst the group of people that came out, was a group of people perpetrating a psychological operation that they were cutting their teeth on here in North Dakota?
Oh, yeah.
That they were going to grow into a movement that eventually turned into the QAnon movement, the movement against vaccinations, the movement that is anti-CRT, anti-LGBTQ, anti-history, anti-science, that would eventually lead up to a coup, an insurrection on January 6th? Well, it's true. And I'm going to show you how the people that came out to Standing Rock with the veterans and Wes Clark Jr. were part of that campaign, and how they used Standing Rock as the
Stepping stones,
the beginning, the inception. It was really a dry run.
Yeah, it was a practice run.
It was a practice run, and it was also the inception point, the beginning of what they grew into, a national movement with an international movement, really, with lots of moving parts, with lots of different organizations that eventually ended up part of the QAnon movement and the insurrection.
Exactly.
And how the Midas Touch and the Bunker Crew thought it would be a good idea to try to whitewash the image of Wes Clark Jr. and his cronies and their part that they took in perpetrating this PsyOp on the American people. I shall never understand. But I am here to rebut their nonsense, to rebut the shoddy journalism work, if you can call it that, by Emily Bicks, the person that interviewed Wes Clark for this American PsyOp podcast, or Poocast, as I call it, and which was edited by Emily Bicks's boyfriend, fiance, Jack Bryan, and produced by Stacey, Sher, Jack Bryan, Marley, Clements, and executive produced by Grant DeSimone and Brent Meiselas. These are the people responsible for stealing our copyrighted material and slandering the names of myself, my husband, and the station and our program, because we have the receipts on what these folks were up to. Now, if you've been following our show, in our last program, part 7, we showed you that Wes Clark Jr., who purported himself to be a progressive, a Democrat, somebody that was all of these different people, he was working with all these different progressive groups, the Real Progressives, and Jill Stein, and the Bernie Sanders people at Standing Rock, when in reality, those folks were there to hand the presidency to Donald J. Trump.
Exactly.
They were there on behalf of foreign interests like Turkey, like China, like Russia, and more. And groups, cults, that included the Moonies and also the I Am cult, but had a lot of different fake shaman and people that were involved in this like guru slash shamanic slash spiritual awakening type of new age, you know, the yoga stuff, the new age crap that we've been seeing a lot of. And we ended on Deepak Chopra. Now, I showed you that Wes Clark Jr. gave an interview to an ultra-right conservative conspiracy theorist radio show host named John B. Wells. And that at the end of that broadcast, he brought up one of the many organizations and groups that were supporting the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, including unity.org. And I showed you that on that page, there was a lot of people, including Tulsi Gabbard, who was at Standing Rock, and Deepak Chopra, who is connected to Sean Stone, one of the people that Wesley Clark Jr. said impulsed him to go to Standing Rock, the son of the director Oliver Stone. So I want to bring you back to those connections and remind you of where we left off on our last show, where I was showing you the image from Russian television news, which is where Sean Stone had his program, The Hawks, I think it's called, The Hawks, and he was doing a interview during this hour-long video called Metahuman, which included a lot of different interviews that he had done through his Hawks program on Russian television news, but which had a bigger message. And that message is that you could be a metahuman.
Okay.
Do you know what a metahuman is?
No.
It's an extra human. It's like more than human. It's like superhuman. I'm going to get into it in a minute. It's a little bit cuckoo, but it's part of all of this, you know, new agey, shamanic, guru, self-help crap that the people that were promoting Standing Rock and that went on to promote the coup and QAnon, what they were part of, and that they were part of this going all the way back to 2016. So I shared with you an image also from unity.org that included these shamanic figures, these spiritual leaders and gurus and self-help guides that were touted as part of the Unity group that was going to be praying for Standing Rock, among others. And you see in this picture that has all these different leaders or gurus, one of the circled images is Tulsi Gabbard, who I told you was at Standing Rock. And another one of those is Chief Phil Lane. And there is Phil Lane Sr. and Phil Lane Jr. And if you look into who and what those people are doing now and what they're part of, Phil Lane Sr. and Jr. Are seen as being part of a group of fake shaman, people selling ceremony, people doing conferences for white people, the kind of thing that was abhorrent to those who went to Standing Rock, the kind of thing that we saw at Burning Man, you know, the festivalization, the selling of spiritual healing by Native American leaders. So I'm going to get into deeper avenues of what those people have represented at Standing Rock and how all of those groups converge into a similar ideology, okay? And what that ideology is doing to the security of our nation and how it is destroying democracy in our country. I know that sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So like if you're like into Reiki and you're all into all of these new self-help people and that you were one of those like anti-vax moms that was a yoga instructor, you're helping to destroy democracy in America? Yes. And I'm going to tell you how you unwittingly have fallen into that trap and how these people are trying to facilitate that trap and that damage in America. Whether they are doing it with knowledge and forethought and malice intent, or whether they are just unwitting, useful idiots that can be
sucked in,
that can be set loose on the American people.
Oh, like bots.
And which the American people will eat up and swallow hook, line, and sinker, which they have been doing. So I want to go back to that video, that MetaHuman video. I want to share with you the description on that video that has all of those Russian television interviews, including one with Deepak Chopra. And it says here that this was from February of 2019, and the video titled MetaHuman. It lists all sorts of different courses and books and seminars that you can join or purchase to unlock your quantum powers.
Okay.
And to become more powerful, feminine power breakthroughs, and how you can attend a free course with Deepak Chopra.
Oh, boy.
And they have free guided meditation, and they have books and interviews with people like Deepak Chopra, Barbara Marx Hubbard, filmmaker Brett Leonard, scientists, intellectualists, futurists like Sean Stone, exploring the meaning of being human and how that meaning will change in the 21st century.
Oh, boy.
Did you think that the meaning of human was going to be changing?
No, I did not. Didn't see that coming.
Apparently, there's different categories of human.
Huh.
And your definition of what a human is about to be blown right out of the water.
Really?
Yeah. So let's start by showing you some clips from this MetaHuman video. In the first clip you're going to be looking at, this is a clip about humans as the new human as a cyborg.
Cyborgs?
Right. We're no longer just human. We're part machine, according to Elon Musk.
Really?
Yeah.
We are, all of us already are cyborgs. So you have a machine extension of yourself in the form of your phone and your computer and all your applications. You are already superhuman. If you have an internet link, you have an oracle of wisdom, you can communicate to millions of people, you can communicate to the rest of Earth instantly. I mean, these are magical powers that didn't exist not that long ago. So everyone is already superhuman.
We're living in a scientific age, but actually the world looks increasingly magical in a sense that we are communicating with people across the planet that we never have seen in real life. We are under basically the spell or the casting, the illusions of various news corporations and media conglomerates that...
I did not know.
And listen very carefully to the words used by Sean Stone, that we are in, we are broadcasting, and he makes it sound like they're casting spells.
Yeah,
on
exactly,
it.
exactly.
And we're living in a magical world. And in this magical world, you are part computer. You're a cyborg. You have a telephone. This device that we carry around. It gives us instant access to information across the world. We can talk to people on the other side of the planet instantaneously.
Well, that's magic.
It's magic.
If you're from the 1500s, it would seem like it's magic,
Well, I mean, I guess to a certain segment of the population, it does seem amazing. And I will say that in my lifetime, in the Generation X's lifetime, we have had leaps and bounds in technology, right? That no other generation before us had experienced. And the ability to connect with anyone across the globe, and even the fact that we have the ability to travel literally at the speed of sound
in the air
and send information at the speed of sound.
Yeah.
It does make it seem like we have powers beyond what any other generation of humans have had. Now, this next clip is by, it includes Barbara Marx Hubbard, who I'm going to call Evil Mother Hubbard because she's kind of crazy. I'm going to give you a lot more detail about her later, but here's the introduction. Here's what Barbara Marx Hubbard had to say about our evolution as human beings.
So the choice point is, are we going to activate that group mind, that hive mind from, the reptilian brainstem theater of the human mess? Or are we going to actually allow that to be activated from, as Abraham Lincoln said, the better angels of our nature? And I believe that, that augmented intelligence, extended intelligence, and all these transhuman amalgams that are happening could need to reflect the better angels of our nature and make us become more evolved outside of the primal reality of being an animal.
Conscious evolution means that the whole evolutionary process of creation, from the origin of, the single cells, the multi-cells, the animals, to humans, now to us, we are the first generation to be conscious of the whole process of evolution. And secondly, conscious that we are expressions of evolution becoming conscious. And third, that we have noticed the direction of evolution for billions of years, single cell, multi-cell, animal, human, more complexity, more freedom, more complex love, more consciousness.
Okay. So she believes that this what's her name? Mother Hubbard?
Yeah.
She has a belief that we're going to come into some new type of consciousness. And this new consciousness is something that we're evolving into as human beings. It's just the natural next step of evolution.
Wow.
Okay. So the other person that was in that was the filmmaker, Brett Leonard, the director of Lawnmower Man. I don't know if I know exactly what that is, but in this next clip that you're about to see, we're going to hear from Deepak Chopra.
Okay.
There is a tendency in nature for everything that rises to converge. And I am assuming that the convergence of what's emergent is possible, can be facilitated. And as that happens, the culture of Homo Universalis doing this is so much greater than the sum of our parts that we will know how to heal the earth, free the people, and explore the universe.
I guess that was another one on that one. Just the one you're looking for?
That was that was another Mother Hubbard clip.
Mm-hmm.
And in that clip, she is talking. I think I'm going to have you play it again because it's important for people to understand the differences here.
All right.
In this particular clip, she is going to be talking about, and then they show the red pill and the blue pill.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Pay attention because remember, this came out in 2019. This is before the pandemic, and this is before QAnon. But you can start to see the people that eventually are going to bring QAnon to us, the people that are going to be promoting all of these conspiracy theories and that are going to eventually be part of the coup. This is their genesis, okay? So let's play that clip one more time.
All right.
Point, there is a tendency in nature for everything that rises to converge. And I am assuming that the convergence of what's emergent is possible, can be facilitated. And as that happens, the culture of Homo Universalis doing this is so much greater than the sum of our parts that we will know how to heal the earth, free the people, and explore the universe.
So this Barbara Marx Hubbard, just so that you know, she considers herself a visionary thinker and suggests that we are in a unique evolutionary phase in which the universe is coming to understand itself through the vehicle of human consciousness. She argues that the spiritual attainment of the great religious founders and avatars are now becoming available to the masses of people. So she is the co-founder of the World Fortune Society and is president of the Foundation for Conscious Evolution. She's also the author of The Hunger of Eve, The Revelation, Our Crisis is a Birth, and The Evolutionary Journey of Conscious Evolution. But what is perhaps more disturbing about this person is her belief system. This is coming from The Soon Coming Judgment of God Upon America and How to Escape It.
Oh.
And in it, they're talking about the age of transformation, the age of Aquarius, which we're currently in, right? And that they anticipate that the planetary transformation to take place upon 1/4 of the inhabitants of the earth will have to be excised.
Excised?
Like a cancer.
Oh, like killed.
Right. This is part of their belief.
Wow.
Barbara Marx Hubbard writes about this in her book, The Book of Co-Creation. This book was channeled to her through a spirit.
Oh, yeah.
Which she calls the presence. Christians know this entity as a demon spirit. Barbara wrote her 2,000-page work in 6 months, an accomplishment that defies human ability, according to this book. In her book, she gives a satanically twisted interpretation of Revelation 6:8. She describes how 1/4 of the human race is evolving into gods and how 1/4 is standing in their way. They are destructive and will therefore have to be killed.
Wow.
According to her demonic interpretation of Revelation 6:8, New Agers are evolving into gods and Christians are standing in their way. It is those Christians who are determined to hold fast to the unadulterated truth of God's words who are in the way, and they need to be killed. She writes, humanity will not be able to make the transition from earth only to universal life until the chaff has been separated from the wheat. The great reaper must reap before we can take the quantum leap into the next phase of evolution. Out of the full spectrum of human personality, 1/4 is electing to transcend with all their heart, mind, and spirit. They are becoming gods. 1/4 is resistant to election. These are Christians, and others who resist the one world religion. They are unattracted by life ever evolving. Their higher self is unable to penetrate the unable to penetrate the density of their mammalian senses. They cannot be reached. They are defective seeds. Now, as we approach the quantum shift, the creature to human creative human, the creature to co-creative human, the destructive 1/4 must be eliminated from the social body. And then in parentheses, the person that's talking about this says Christians are the 1/4. Fortunately, you, dearly beloveds, are not responsible for this act. We are in charge of God's selection process for planet Earth. He selects, we destroy. They're saying Christians will be destroyed.
Yeah.
We are the riders of the pale horse, death. That's what she wrote.
Jeez.
We come to bring death to those who are unable to know God. We do this for the sake of the world. The riders of the pale horse are about to pass among you, grim reapers. They will separate the wheat from the chaff. This is the most painful period in the history of humanity. You do not have to participate in the destruction. You are to be responsible for the construction which shall begin as the tribulations come to an end. Barbara Marx Hubbard is just one of many New Age participants in the State of the World Forum. Hubbard is one of the many New Ager participants who holds similar beliefs and who Gorbachev is pleased to have as part of his global brain trust. Mikhail Gorbachev, yeah. If you think that Hubbard's beliefs are not in any way representative of the rest of the forum's participants, think again.
Well,
Okay, so that is who that lady
Jeez.
is. And I'm just giving you a little taste. I have more about her. She was actually a vice presidential candidate in
Really?
the 80s. Yeah.
Wow.
So now we'll move on to Deepak Chopra. Okay? These are the people that are all part of this metahuman video with Sean Stone.
You read a book, you hear a song on the CD, or you see a film. Suddenly you evoke experiences because symbolic representations of experience can trigger the original experience.
What Dr. Chopra is indicating is the reciprocal nature of the mind and the brain. While we can physically pry the brain or chemically alter it with drugs, our understanding of neuroplasticity informs us. We can alter neural pathways and chemical tendencies within the brain based on our activities, including meditation.
So they believe that you can attain this higher spiritual plane through meditation. Feel free to close up the tabs for Elon, for Barbara Marx Hubbard, and then we can move on to the next Deepak and Sean Stone clip about this meditation and how you achieve the metahuman status. Here is Deepak Chopra telling us about our consciousness and who we are as humans. Deepak Chopra.
It's a construct in creation. Who's yours?
The consciousness that I am is tied to the universal consciousness that you tap into, that every other...
There is only universal consciousness.
Yes.
If we really get this, then we will be able one day challenge Darwinian thoughts about evolution, because Darwinian evolution says random mutations and natural selection. I would replace that by unpredictable mutations and natural selections. Randomness means inherently random.
So, He's talking about a different way of evolution.
Yeah.
Well, regardless of whether you believe that we evolve in this particular way according to Darwin, or whether you believe that that is an antiquated, outdated way of thinking about human evolution, this guy's thinking about human evolution is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit crazy. Here's another clip where he's explaining how we achieve metahuman status.
Right.
Experience, but the brain is sending messages to the body. So
There's cellular memory, right? Cells are remembering and interacting.
Everything.
Yeah.
So as long as you have a materialistic interpretation of the universe, where you actually believe that brain, body, mind are real permanent entities, which they are not. Mind, brain, and body, and the world are shifting perceptual experiences. They are an intermittent stream of sensations, images, feelings, thoughts. All these are human systems of thought trying to interpret experience, which is nothing other than consciousness modifying itself as.
Did you see that robot in the?
Yeah,
in
I
there?
sure did.
Isn't that the robot that that had Saudi Arabian citizenship?
Oh, perhaps.
You can feel free to go ahead and close the tabs on Deepak Chopra if we're not there yet.
No, I have to leave them open because then we'll lose track.
Okay. Well, I don't know how many other clips of Deepak we had. I thought that was it.
That was it. There's Bart is next.
Bart Costco is next. Bart Costco is a professor of electrical engineering and law at the University of Southern California, according to this video. And he is going to talk about metahuman evolution, I guess.
Some of the same stuff we've been listening to.
What did you think of what Deepak Chopra was saying about if you think your body, your mind, your spirit are permanent and they're not?
Oh, it reminds me of the 17th century philosophy I took in college with Descartes saying, I think, therefore I am, and they're trying to discover the existence of, people. I smash wax with my hand. Does it emit a sound? Then you got Berkeley talking about whether, you exist, and it's like, it's crazy stuff back then. It seems like crazy stuff now,
It is kind of crazy, especially when you see where this is all going.
Yep.
But here is Bart talking about the metahuman experience.
Okay.
But your belief then is fundamentally, you believe that we will basically be able to download my awareness, my being, let's say I am, this Sean Stone experience of 33 years, be able to download that awareness into a computer so that I could potentially live forever as sort of like a computer or some kind of robot, let's say, or something to that effect?
I think for a lot of us it's hard to imagine living in a computer. And my answer to that is, well, you're living in one right now. It's just made of 3 pounds of meat.
So if you thought it was weird, 'cause I saw your face. I was watching your face to see how you reacted to living as a robot. Downloading a person's consciousness into a computer, and then your consciousness lives on as a robot.
Yeah, and you can download it, and then you still exist after that.
Like AI, I
don't
guess,
think
or
so.
something like that, or I'm not sure. But it's making me remember how Walt Disney had his head frozen.
Oh, yeah.
In cryogenics, so that when technology caught up and his brain could be thought out, and hopefully they could take his ideas and
his 3 pounds of meat, I guess.
Yeah, and put it somewhere. I don't think anybody's been able to do that.
Wasn't there a movie, Johnny Mechanic or something like that? Keanu Reeves had the upload thing in their head and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I already did this sci-fi stuff in Hollywood, you know. Can't believe that Sean Stone's like, so you could take my essence of my 33 years and download it, so therefore I will live forever.
They are saying that, and I told you on my last show that Deepak Chopra tells people that if you can change your consciousness, you can live forever. You don't die because of his belief system and the way that he like meditates or something.
Yeah.
So just so we can go over some of the important people that we were talking about in this video, remember Barbara Marx Hubbard, who is the co-chair of the Foundation for Conscious Evolution. And there she was speaking out of Loveland, Colorado. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I want to show you that that is indeed Barbara Marx Hubbard, the same Barbara Marx Hubbard who recently had a show on Roku titled The Legacy for a New World View. So this woman has a lot of connections to folks that are part of this New Age religious movement, spiritualist movement. Incredibly, so is Elon Musk. You didn't think that Elon Musk was part of this, but here he is twice in the video. The second one, he is quoted as saying that the chance that we are not living in a computer simulation is 1 in a billion.
So none of it's real?
So you live in a computer simulation. First of all, Elon told us at the beginning of this video that we're all cyborgs.
That's right.
Right?
Cyborgs.
And also, we've learned that if we meditate, we can live forever. We also learned that if your consciousness is downloaded into a computer, you can live on as a robot. And finally, we are told that everything is virtual reality, basically, and that we are experiencing a simulation.
Wow.
Summary. In summarization, that is the nonsense that is on this 1 hour long video.
Peace.
Feel free to go and search for it for yourself and listen to all of the nonsense until come back. Let me know if you heard something different. Okay?
All right.
Because that's what I heard. But here is what I want to tell you about what I have learned and where I have learned it from. Okay? Because how I found out, how I even heard about this Poocast, the American PsyOp series featuring Wes Clark and Desiree Kane and Jim Stewartson and David Troy, is that I was tagged in a thread on Twitter.
Okay.
And it was by someone I did not know, had never met or spoken to, that apparently had knowledge of my shows, of my past shows, about Standing Rock and about the people that were there. They were the only person that tagged me in any threads about this American PsyOp Poocast on Twitter, or who defended my broadcasts about people that are, I guess, involved in this American PsyOp podcast. So I wanted to share where that thread took me and how I first learned about this American PsyOp. First of all, Dave Troy tweeted in response to American PsyOp asking him if he was ready for his cameo on the podcast. He said in response, "I am indeed. I haven't heard it yet. I don't know it was included in the early cuts I heard back in 2021, but it's true. I played a part in helping to connect some of the dots in Wes's story back in 2020. Everyone, check it out." And I want to reiterate that I reached out to Dave Troy, and that Dave Troy was shared with the paper that Guadalupe
Oh, yeah.
Correa Cabrera and
That's
I
right, yeah.
published in scientific journals about the mercenaries at Standing Rock
Yep.
and the damage that they were doing. Yeah, Guadalupe shared our paper with him a long time ago.
Yeah.
And also encouraged him to reach out to me, as well as I messaged this man and never heard back from him.
Wow.
Telling him about Wesley Clark's connections to Nora Maccabee and to a whole bunch of other people that were red flags, okay? That should have been red flags for David Troy and Desiree Kane and all of the people that were supposedly part of this cult and victims of the PsyOp themselves. It makes it very, very hard for me to believe that Dave Troy wasn't in some way aware
That's right.
that they are lying.
Yep. Didn't want to follow up with that, I guess.
No. So anyway, continuing on this thread, American PsyOp then responds in the thread and says, if you'll scroll up, yeah, couldn't have gotten here without Dave. So they thank Dave. And then we've read the something. I don't know what their Twitter handle is exactly, but it's they tag Arturo Tafoya, which goes by the handle Tafoyovsky.
Okay.
And then the next tweet is by Arturo Tafoya saying, "Lol, I know." American PsyOp then responds, "We absolutely. I first met Dave in like 2018, but only reconnected with him after we both reached out to Arturo Tafoya while looking into the origins of QAnon in the summer of 2020. This, I'm assuming, is Jack Bryan or whoever, maybe it's Emily Bicks, his girlfriend, but one of those people that runs the American PsyOp Twitter page. And then they tweet again saying, and we reached out to Arturo Tafoya because we believed, let's go to the next part of this, because we believed that we had found a network connected to QAnon and were looking for someone who knew those guys and could confirm it. And boom, we found Arturo Tafoya, who certainly helped add to our understanding. I wonder why they cut him out of the entire podcast.
Yeah, no kidding.
It seems to me, the more I look into this, that nobody in the American PsyOp series or in any of the groups that have used his information, including different books and documentaries, nobody wants to admit that a Mexican was doing a lot of the heavy lifting in exposing the people involved in QAnon. And also, I don't think that they want to give credit.
Oh, definitely.
To the people that, to Arturo, to the people that actually know and have exposed what and who these people are and what they're about.
Exactly, and that's what they're doing to you, too, is like they took audio from one of your shows and sliced it up, and there was many shows with Wes Clark Jr., and if that guy was trying to help him figure out his story, there was so much material you produced, plus you had to have a bunch more. Could have just picked up the phone, called us, could have called that number, 701-566-0917, left a message. You guys could have had a conversation. You could have sorted out that story real fast. Yeah,
and on the show that he stole copyright material from, had our emails too. He could have emailed you at Duke at kpppfm.com or me, Cindy, at kpppfm.com. I didn't get an email, did you?
Nope, never got one.
Nobody contacted us. So, in this thread, you will see that Arturo, he responds and he says, I remember, plus screenshots of me wanting to quit and someone promising that the most important thing was to get my story out. So, I kept helping. Notice that.
Yeah.
They kept promising him.
Mm-hmm.
Stringing him along. Mm-hmm. It's the most important thing is get your story out and tell your story. So keep helping us. Keep giving us information. And then he says, of course, that did not happen. Mm-hmm. They never told his story. Yeah. They never shared his side of things. And then he says, you guys know that I am the target of the same cult. The same methods were used against the same methods used against Wes were used on me.
Wow.
And you know what? If there was a victim of this cult, of this PsyOp, it certainly was not Wes Clark Jr. or Desiree Kane.
Yeah.
It was not Wes Clark Jr., one of the perpetrators of the PsyOp. It was not Desiree Kane, one of the people working with the PR team connected to Trevor Fitzgibbons. It was not them, okay? It probably was Arturo Tafoya, but these people like to usurp, like to wear the identities of the people that are the real victims, like they did at Standing Rock, and claim victimhood, as Desiree Kane did. Who cares about the Lakota women that they falsely accused of crimes, left in jail, and one to die in a hospital and another one to rot in jail? Desiree Kane is the victim Indian here.
Yeah.
Wes Clark Jr. is the victim here, right? Because even though he's nobody special, he's the son of the general who almost became president. So,
That's right.
of course, all of these governments from around the world want a piece of him. Mm-hmm. Continuing on this thread, American PsyOp is a little butthurt by Arturo's putting out the dirty laundry that they strung him along, telling him to share his story because it was important that his story get out there, but then it didn't, and that they were telling him that they were there to try to protect the victims, but then they never did. And their response to that is, I wish we had used that interview. Not my call.
Oh, yeah, not my fault.
Sorry, washing my hands of this, not my problem. Mm-hmm. He says that he goes on to say, I'm assuming this is Jack Bryan, they didn't use it in part because even though we thought we would have to do a bunch of Zoom interviews, we didn't. It looked noticeably different. Still, I understand you're feeling burned by us not using that. And I'm sorry that happened. So essentially, Duke, what they're saying is, you know, the quality would have been different if we had done a whole bunch of Zoom interviews and included those in the podcast when that wasn't the look we were going for. I mean, they didn't want to degrade the quality. Can you speak a little bit to the quality of this show, this Poocast American PsyOp?
Well, there is no quality. I mean, it's audio interviews that ramble on for 9-10 hours. And there's different layers of audio. They already have the interviewer inserting commentary when you know that Wes is just rambling on, because many of the calls with Cindy are just rambling calls. Cindy's documented many hours with Wes Clark Jr. from a period of, I think she started in December, January of 2016 till summertime, I think towards the fall of that year of 2017, and had all sorts of conversations. And the reason we contacted him is we were working on the Kathleen Bennett case, the Lakota elder who was kidnapped by Mulaney Stoneman and Bill Running Fisher, and the veterans stand for Standing Rock, mercenaries that were paid. And Wes Clark had things to do with that, and we thought he had some influence and could move the story up because we needed help. We needed to put a spotlight on this. And he basically just was worming around and trying to prevent us. Wanted that woman to go to jail. Wanted to be responsible for all that.
he did what he did for the veterans at Standing Rock. Nothing. He left them in a lurch.
Yep.
And by the way, this excuse that they didn't want to change the look of their podcast by putting in a bunch of Zoom interviews that they would have had to do with Arturo didn't stop him from adding a bonus episode at the end, which is essentially Emily Bicks doing a Zoom interview with Wes Clark Jr. And Dr. Hassan.
Exactly.
So I don't get it.
Yep.
I don't buy it. I don't get it. I think you're full of crap.
Yep.
Like your Poocasts.
Exactly.
Here is the next
This is a response to what he said,
after sorry that happened. Arturo responds, I really don't care if I appear in the documentary. If a year-old debunked operation run by DeFango is released. And dude, why go after Cindy at media? You have to scroll down there. At media_PPP. She's the only one who, as far as I know, called out hashtag Trevor Fitzgibbons and hashtag Nora Maccabee. And the context changes a lot if you listen to the full call.
Exactly.
Because, of course, he's talking about the audio that was taken out of context and stolen, the copyrighted material that was stolen from our program and used in their Poocast. And he's saying, why are you attacking the only person that I know of that brought up the connections to the PR machine of Trevor Fitzgibbons and Nora Maccabee and the connections to Wes Clark Jr.? Why are you trashing and slandering these people in your program and taking their material out of context?
Exactly.
When, if you listen to the full call, which Arturo Tafoya actually took the full program and loaded it up on his Conspiracy Distillery website. So that people could hear the full context and they could see what it was like, what was being discussed in that conversation.
Exactly.
And he responds in his next post underneath that, saying what he thought of when he listened to the full call. How was she supposed to react, he asks. Here's the full video with the full phone call. So he posted it there in that same thread. This was how I first learned about American PsyOp and their podcast.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I thought, who is this person? Why does he have this link here? Why are they talking about me? So, of course, I had to go and click on American PsyOp and find out where they had the podcast so I could listen to them. Then I also clicked on the link he had there, which took me to his Conspiracy Distillery YouTube channel, which was hosting one of my shows, the one in question that they stole the copyrighted material from. And in that video, which he loaded complete, full, you could listen to the context of the whole thing. But let me share with you that even you listening to that whole show and that full call does not give you the complete context of what it was like dealing with a con man like Wes Clark for as many hundreds of hours that I did. Because these people, and I'm saying these because it wasn't just him. It was Maggie Day, one of the PR people working with him, and Winnie Wong, and Desiree Kane, and Seven McDonald.
Yeah.
That were constantly contacting me, talking to me, trying to manipulate me, trying to get me to change what I was going to be broadcasting, how I was going to be talking about certain people. And I always had trust issues. I always felt that although Josh Long and Ren told me that we should take Wes at his word that he was a victim of Michael A. Wood Jr., that he got kicked out of his own organization, and that he was more than willing to help in any way that he could to help free Kathleen Bennett and help her mom and her be reunited. And so, believing, as those two witnesses did, that he would eventually come through for us, I took him at his word. But I never believed, because he drug his he dragged his feet. He played dumb. He acted like he didn't know who that was. He couldn't remember. He did that Donald Trump thing where they ask him, "Do you know who this is?" He's like, "I've never heard of that. Who's that?" And they're like, "Your best buddy. That's who it is." He does that too. Wes Clark uses the same kind of distancing tactics that Trump used, and I eventually came to regard them as agents, as infiltrators, as people that were trying to manipulate my broadcasts. And so I called them out on the carpet. When they said stupid things to me, when they said things and behaved in ways that did not seem appropriate to the situation, I called them out. I yelled at them, hoping that they would leave me the hell alone and never darken my doorstep again. But they didn't stop. They continued to contact me, and they continued to stay in the conversation, no matter how angry, no matter how hard I pushed them away, no matter how much I repudiated their behavior and yelled at them and called them names for their behavior. They stuck around. They took it on the chin like nothing, because they were spies. Because, because any other self-respecting person would have been like, that's it. I'm not going to take this abuse anymore. I don't want to deal with this person. But they weren't. They were going to stay in there like someone was paying them. Like it was part of their job description to stay on my detail. And they did. So let me share with you how I then went to explore this Arturo Tafoya's Twitter page, because it is a repository of information, as is the Conspiracy Distillery website. I encourage people watching my show that are following along to go and find more information there, because this gentleman has been doing the work. Apparently, it takes a Mexican to do the job. In this case, we got two Mexicans doing the job. Oh, by the way, can you go back to that last post? I
thought that was
there was
important.
Something else there I wanted to share with you. In this last post, he said that you can listen to the full call. He says, how was she supposed to react? Here's the full video and the phone call. And he says, after he posts his website, and she's the only other Mexican I've seen fighting this bull caca. And I experienced the same thing. Arturo was the only Mexican, but out of all of these gringos pendejos involved in the I Am cult and the QAnon movement, de todos no sale uno. You could take 100 of them and you don't get one Arturo out of that. Or one Cindy Gomez-Schempp out of that. So I think that's probably one of the things that is the most embarrassing to them, that it's got to be a Mexican that is doing their work for them. That is explaining things for them. And they don't want to acknowledge that is who solved this, that, cracked the case wide open. But here, all the way back in January of 2021, Arturo was talking about the connections between Deepak Chopra and Barbara Marx Hubbard and quantum healing, QAnon, David Wilcock, Thrive, the Quantum Revolution, the Great Awakening Worldwide, Russia, Psychological Operations, Gaia, Sean Stone, and Lisa Clapier, the head of this Follow Snow White, the I Am cult.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Q cult. And he posts about a video in which Richard Dawkins kind of smashes Deepak Chopra's quantum healing BS in this interview. And I wanted to share a couple of clips from that YouTube video that he's posted. In this first one, he basically talks about who Deepak Chopra is.
In the Middle Ages, healers would conjure up evil spirits or magical spells. Now, in the 21st century, it seems they turn to black holes and, above all, quantum physics. Quantum theory accounts for the anomalous behavior of light and atoms. It's astonishingly accurate, but notoriously difficult to grasp. But Deepak Chopra, who once qualified as a doctor, has seized upon quantum jargon and applied it to healing. He claims disease can be caused and cured by a shift in consciousness.
If you believe in the rock, you're automatically believing in God.
Chopra has managed to become a one-man alternative health industry. He's worth up to $75,000 per lecture, and in this era of self-absorption, he claims Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Hillary Clinton as followers.
This is followers.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. There's a sucker born every minute.
Uh-huh.
You know what is really fascinating to me, Duke?
What?
Both QAnon and its inception through Cicada 3301 have to do with very high level, genius level mathematics and connections to breaking codes and spirituality and occultism. And this has a lot to do with quantum physics, things that most regular John Q publics don't really have a grasp in understanding and will never have. And they purport themselves to be the geniuses who have this wisdom, that hold this wisdom, because they have ascended into this knowledge base. They have evolved, and they can now lead you into a better way of living.
That's right. See, all of consciousness is in this pen. I'm with God by having this pen.
But in reality, it's like using the ignorance of the common folk to con them out of money.
He gets paid $75,000 to go speak somewhere? Wow.
Oh, this was a very old video. I'm sure he charges a lot more than that now.
Yeah.
This guy has been on this con for a while. Remember he had those like special glasses, meditation glasses or something that were like magic or something that were like $350 a pop?
Yeah, I got mine.
We're back to the X-ray glasses.
Yeah.
Honey, you could have been on the grift. You could have been doing the grift the whole time.
Yeah.
But, it's harmful. It's damaging what these people have been doing and how these people have been grifting. It is harmful. It is not, if there's people out there who'd be like, oh, well, he helps some people, so the fact that some people are hurt by this messaging is not so terrible. No, it is. And it's a distortion of what science is, of what healing and understanding and medicine are. And I love how Dawkins nails him, you know, in the most polite way, but he's like, you're kind of full of caca. Listen to this part.
The great American physicist Richard Feynman once said, "If you think you understand quantum theory, you don't understand quantum theory." Isn't Deepak Chopra just exploiting quantum jargon as plausible-sounding hocus-pocus?
Quantum healing is a theory that a shift in consciousness creates a shift in biology. That's it. We try and get into every aspect of a patient's life, their relationships, their hopes, their dreams, and then we combine it with a ritual of deep meditation, massage, and really a lot of spiritual counseling, including the fear of death. We think that many times patients feel healed even though they may die from a disease if they learn to go beyond their personal fear of death. And you can never do that unless you have a patient have a spiritual experience.
Where did the quantum theory come into that?
Oh, it's just a metaphor, just like an electron or a photon is an indivisible unit of information and energy. A thought is an indivisible unit of consciousness.
Oh, so it's a metaphor for a unit. It's nothing to do with quantum theory as in physics.
No, I think quantum theory has a lot of things to say about observer effect. There are a school of physicists who believe that quantum leaps, for example, are examples of discontinuity. And creativity in consciousness is also an example of discontinuity. And that healing may be a biological phenomenon that relies on biological creativity. That at very fundamental levels it may be a discontinuous phenomenon. It's something unpredictable that happens in the proliferation of uncertainty.
So it sounds like a sort of poetic use of the word discontinuity. It's actually confusion, isn't it, to bring in quantum theory other than as a metaphor. But it sounds as though you're both doing it as a metaphor and a little tinge of something like what physicists are talking about as well.
Well, I think there's controversy. The aficionados in the world of quantum physics have somehow hijacked the word for their own use.
Oh, okay. So they've hijacked your word quantum.
I think what happens is that there are fundamentalists in science.
That is absolutely wrong. Science's quest is to try to sort out, to tease out those bits that we don't understand
Science
and work
has become
out.
so arrogant in its premise that it has all the answers in a mechanistic approach that it has, whilst it has gotten rid of lots of things like polio and malaria and tuberculosis in many parts of the world, we are now seeing the emergence of modern epidemics that are a result of some of the things that have come about through science.
And this is before the pandemic. But he says science has become so arrogant. He's so mad that this guy is calling him out. And he's like, no. It's a metaphor or it isn't. Does this have anything to do with real quantum physics? No, it doesn't. Oh, no, it's a metaphor, he says. Okay, it's a metaphor, but you said it does have a twinge of quantum physics in it. So you're trying to conflate the two things, and he's like, well, you know, this is what science is doing. They're trying to be very black and white, and they don't really know what they're talking about. Wow. That is the height of arrogance from someone who, as Dawkins described him, used to be a doctor. Was once considered a doctor. Right. But this is how he has bastardized his profession. I showed you on my previous program that his grades weren't that great.
That's right.
He may have graduated as a doctor of something, but he definitely was not prolific or very, highly regarded.
Not the top of his class.
Definitely not the top of anything that he's worked on. Hanging around with a bunch of metaphorical losers, right? So here's another post from Arturo Tafoya's page on Twitter on this same thread talking about Deepak Chopra and the cult, the Q cult, but also Sean Stone and his Breath Academy. And of course, Deepak Chopra is part of the Breath Academy, which is in itself some kind of weird cult.
Yeah.
And then we have the connection between that and Snow White, 7 I Am, the I Am cult, and Lisa Clapier. So here is the video in which Deepak is talking about his experience at the Breath Academy.
I just did a session with Kaya from the Sacred Breath Academy, and I have to tell you that it just took a few minutes for me to be non-local, experiencing myself as consciousness outside the body. And it was beautiful being enveloped in the formless, infinite dimension of non-local, loving presence. I'm going to try it again.
So,
Really?
this skinny white lady that appears on the Breath Academy's website, along with Sean Stone and a bunch of other naked women, only Sean Stone and Deepak as men can be seen anywhere on this website. It's like their personal harem of naked women, and she guided him through a breathing meditation that was outside of his body.
I see.
That allowed him to experience pure love and consciousness, or some other weird thing, while he was wearing his spiritual gangster T-shirt.
Exactly.
He's a gangster, all right, but I don't know if there's anything spiritual about it. This grift is nothing spiritual to me. In this next post, Arturo Tafoya, who goes by Lestat on Twitter, also posts another video featuring Deepak Chopra as the author of Peace is the Way, and he has the hashtags for Thrive, and I'm going to have to do some future shows about Gaia and Thrive and the connections between Mama Hubbard and the Project Camelot and Foster and Gamble and all of these other hashtags he has there. But for now, let's just keep going down the Deepak Chopra hole and listen to the video attached to this tweet. Here's Deepak Chopra.
I think, unfortunately, both terms, intelligent design and evolution, have been hijacked by fundamentalists. So when we say intelligent design, we think creationism, as in the Bible, usually. And when we think evolution, we think strict Darwinian adaptation with no room for creativity. So the debate goes on because both people are attached to their fundamental notions of what they mean by those terms. I think evolution is a reality. Darwin's model was very good, incomplete. I think, on the other hand, so-called intelligent design is also a reality. To say that there was no design is like, or there's no organizing impulse, or there's no correlation, or there's no creativity, is to say that a hurricane went through my junkyard and when it left there was a Boeing 747 and it was all random.
So the bottom line, that's the Thrive Movement. Did you see that? ThriveMovement.com?
Yep.
So this is part of the Thrive Movement. And again, I don't have time in this program to explain what that is, but I will get to it eventually.
Yeah.
I'm just introducing these ideas from the Twitter account of this Arturo Tafoya, who originally tagged me and made me aware that there was a whole series in which several of these programs were featuring us in our programs of A Mexican Crossing Lines. So the next one here has to do with the Sacred Academy the Sacred Breath Academy, the Q Cult, which is managed by Sean Stone and his girlfriend Kaya Lee. These are images taken from their Instagram account on quantum belief, prana eaters, and it includes Sasha Stone. And I'll tell you a little bit more about who he is in a moment. So let me just walk you through some of the attached images from their Instagram account for the Sacred Breath Academy. The first one is the intro to breath work, which says, Intro to breath work plus quantum belief work, self-inquiry, and emotional intelligence. Could you scroll up there so I can finish reading that? Oh, that's it. That's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's go to the next one, which is about the Sophia Code. And it says, this next golden age is an invitation for you to reveal the unlimited depths and heights of your sovereign creative power, rather than seek for the world to change for you. You are the change. And apparently all you have to do is meditate to get there.
I see.
That's what these people are selling, you know. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is think in this radical new way and learn how to breathe, apparently, or not breathe, or hold your breath. And then suddenly you can be cured, you can be healed, you can be healed of your traumas, you can be healed of your illnesses, you can be healed of everything.
I guess.
And this is how powerful these exercises and breathing are, Duke. This is what happened to a woman called Elizabeth. Elizabeth, they posted, was able to connect with her unborn child.
Wow.
And her father that was dead during her breathwork training. Words cannot express how powerful it was to witness. I can only imagine what that would have been like to see. It reminds me of like people in a Pentecostal church being slain in the spirit, and they're like, talking in tongues. Oh gosh, you know what? It reminds me of that weird priestess lady that was. And the angels are coming from Africa, from Africa, from Africa. The Trump lady.
Yeah, and the guy walking behind her back and forth.
All of those scammers and schemers that tell you they've got a direct link to God.
Yeah.
Here's another person with that group. Sean Stone and his girlfriend Kaya present Sasha Stone. And who is Sasha Stone? Well, Sasha Stone is a very close friend of the now deceased from getting COVID, anti-vaxxer who was telling people not to get their vaccinations and not to wear masks, Robert David Steele.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Conspiracy theorist. He's the guy that talked about colonies of
the children on Mars,
that were being prostituted. Yeah, that wacko.
Yeah.
Here he is with Sasha Stone sitting next to him at some weird fake tribunals that they held. Check it out. The person that's sitting next to him is Sasha Stone. You'll recognize him.
I have found in my research and preparation for this court and all of the work that will follow that most organizations that end up being used to prey on children, Oxfam is a recent example, all of the United Nations organizations, the Boy Scouts of America, all of the child services agencies across the United States of America, they did not start out as organizations to prey on children, but they attract pedophiles. And ultimately, pedophiles end up rising in the ranks and controlling those organizations, so that an organization that initially started out in the service of children becomes an organization that is in fact hunting children. And one of our distinguished commissioners has written an absolutely wonderful book called Child Hunters, which I recommend to all of you as a brief on this. Now, it's not my working assumption, but the working assumption yet to be proven that the totality of the children disappearing worldwide is toward 8 million people, toward 8 million children. In the United States of America, the acknowledged number, not counting the children being bred without birth certificates, not counting the children being imported without documentation, is between 600 and 800,000 a year. Now
There he
imagine
is.
Africa and East Asia and all these other locations. I personally believe that the number we want to try to document is rising well beyond the official figures, and we have yet to learn what the actual number is.
See that guy next to him?
Yep.
The other
Sasha Stone.
working assumption is how long do these children survive within this system? What I am hearing from the witnesses that I've talked to is 2 years. It may be longer, it may be 4 years, it may be 6 years, but by and large, these children are so abused. I mean, we're talking rapes by the hour and so forth, that they reach their expiration date within 2 years. And then they're murdered with impunity, or they're ritually murdered if that's what they've been bred for.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
That's a whole bunch of nonsense. But I want you to hear how they're obsessed with child trafficking, adrenochrome, all sorts of wacky things that a lot of people in QAnon
Yeah.
also espoused, okay? So that you can see the connections to all of the people connected to QAnon that are readily available, that are clearly out in the open for people to find. I mean, I don't know how Jack Bryan, who was interviewing Arturo Tafoya, and the other people that were in that group of people that helped to produce that show, like Jim Stewartson and David Troy and Desiree Kane, how all of the long litany of folks in their surroundings that support sexual predators, rapists, and pedophiles. Because I've been documenting that for years.
Exactly.
And this particular group of people is no different. It's almost as if whenever they talk about these things that are very concerning to them, they are just projecting what it is that is living amongst their communities that they're trying to hide, that they're trying to whitewash. And that is exactly what Fitzgibbons and Nora Maccabee and all of the people surrounding that PR machine were doing, covering up for the racist, anti-Semitic, predatory, pedophilic people that they represented, whose images they were trying to clean up. Here's Sasha Stone's profile on Twitter, and I'll be doing a much deeper dive on him and everything that he professes. But a lot of the folks that you're going to see, including Sean Stone, they're trying to take on this hippie, new age, shamanic, but vaguely culturally appropriative of indigenous, Indian, yogis, gurus type of, and you can see that he's the founder of Humanidad. Don't forget that name, it's important. The New Earth Project, the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, which is the thing that you just saw.
Okay.
And the Lazarus Initiative. All of those things we will talk about in more depth later on, and what these people are all into.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot swing a dead cat around the group of people surrounding the production of this Poocast and Wes Clark Jr. and Desiree Kane and Jim Stewartson without hitting one of these gurus, one of these pedophiles, one of these sexualists, without hitting one of these predatory people. I don't know how the people that produced this program missed it.
That's right.
Don't know. You have to be very willfully ignorant to miss it.
It was on purpose.
And here is another post in that same thread in which Arturo is talking about how these folks were also COVID disinformation spreaders, anti-vaxxers. You can see that Kaya Lee, the girlfriend of Sean Stone from the Breathwork Academy, that is in a picture there with a man named Corey Good, who's also another famous scammer and con artist connected to David Wilcock, the Edge of Wonder. and actively promoting QAnon along with Sean Stone, who's also a QAnon promoter.
Yeah.
And I'll go through some of the different images that were attached to this tweet. The first one is the 2020, the cancellation of people in 2020. Everyone's getting canceled. 2020 was canceled, you know.
Oh, the whole year.
They were they're riffing off of that whole cancel culture thing. And it was posted by a quote here from, or a poem or something by a Leslie Dwight that says, "What if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather the most important year of them all."
Oh.
They espouse an ideology of togetherness, but they are using all of the propaganda from Russia and from other countries that wish to divide us.
Yes.
They are using the propaganda that makes us scared, that keeps us away from science and history and knowledge, and has people acting like sheeple that are part of a cult. Here's the next post telling people, "I will not be masked. I will not be tested, tracked, chipped, or poisoned to support the orchestrated lie. This will not be my new normal. I do not consent." These cuckoos would rather kill people and make folks believe that there is a conspiracy involving all of the doctors on planet Earth to tell us that there was a pandemic that wasn't real. What kind of a cockamamie? What and how harmful, how damaging these new age gurus were, and how many people did they get killed? How many people did they facilitate getting killed? The numbers now have been racking up. Here she is in the picture with Mr. Good, or Goody, I don't know how his name is pronounced, Corey Good, and Lee, Kaya Lee, Sean Stone's girlfriend over at the Breathwork Academy.
I see.
And in this next post, they tell you about how you get to level 2. Do you know what level 2 is?
I would love to hear it.
It's part of the sacred breath teachings and trainings. And when you get to level 2 is designed as an initiation into the ancient mystery teachings of this living library we call Earth. In an intentfully woven alchemic space, we will activate our crystalline DNA and ignite the divine genome within. We will transcend the imaginary bounds of conventional perception and bathe ourselves in the celestial frequencies of our Akashic Gnosis. We will awaken our higher leadership, our service blueprints, and become the living vessels of the transmissions. It is time to fully embody our divine purpose and viscerally remember why we came here. Who in the hell writes this crap?
I think they're working on like a Hallmark card company thing.
It's so, I mean, they like try to put in every jargony, new age phrase, crystals and alchemy and DNA and genomes and that's it. Just like, let's word salad this thing together
throwing the crystal in DNA.
Kombucha.
Kombucha.
You know, now, that's all you got to do is like put in the words that all of these people, yoga, kombucha.
Yeah, that's right.
And suddenly you have them. And this post by Arturo is chef's kiss perfect, because this is exactly what I thought when I saw this. By the way, thank you for.
I put bathing suits on them.
You put little censor bars over their naked boobies
Yeah.
because they posted all sorts of naked pictures of women on the website for the Sacred Breath Academy. And Arturo, I agree with you completely. He says, it always amazes me how hypocrites these people can be, how hypocritical these people can be.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones promoting Pizzagate and alleged sex trafficking, when in reality, their Sacred Breath Academy resembles exactly what it looks like, a sex cult.
Definitely.
And they do. Do you see those pictures?
Yeah.
Does that look like some kind of, what is that woman doing naked on the side of a mountain there?
Yeah. She's breathing.
And then they've
Breath
got
Academy.
a whole group of people there by the ocean.
They're lemmings.
And it says, best cult ever. Pain and pleasure are inextricably connected.
Yeah.
A saying by Kylie.
Wow.
What is she? Like the red lettering in the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we quote this skinny white woman? I don't understand what kind of insight she has beyond what the rest of us regular humans have. None. I'll tell you. I can answer that. It's zero. She doesn't. It's all fake. It's all phony. Here is the post in which the Russian television interview, Metahuman video from YouTube, was posted by Arturo, and he talks about how they are the biggest hypocrites in the universe because Sean Stone has a show on Russian television, and as we saw, he and Deepak Chopra are best buddies.
Exactly.
But there's more. If you scroll down, his next post is about Lisa Clapier. And this is where I'm going to have to close my show for today. I'm going to give you a taste of what I'll be touching on in the upcoming shows. But this is the beginning of that rabbit hole. And it says, this is important, and he's got a pin on this post. The Sacred Breath Academy, hashtag Sisterhood of the Rose, hashtag Lisa Clapier, hashtag Snow White 7 I Am, and White Rose. And here is what is posted in those images. It talks about the ceremony, the rose ceremony, the rose code, which is a breathwork ceremony for a gathering of goddesses to commune in ceremonial breathwork, feminine beauty, and Venusian sensuality. This sounds like a sex cult of some kind. Then the next one is, welcome, beautiful sisters, to the Sacred Feminine Alchemy 200-hour digital breathwork facilitator training.
100 hour.
200 hour?
200 hour.
The hell?
Jeez. Yeah.
Sounds like torture.
Yep.
Then the next one, brainwashing torture. Now this thing here is the creepiest weird crap I have ever read. This was from Kylie to her sisters doing the work. She says, let's not forget to delight in the play and lightness of the feminine alongside the healing, integration, and clearing journey. For both can coexist. Sensual, luxurious, opulent, enchanting, creative, innocent, loving, free. The goddess is a prismic being embodying many facets and finding the harmonic balance of them all. She is life itself, and life is an ecstatic dance of infinite particles comprising the whole. May we explore all of her textures and grooves in our journey through form, and not forget to express our joy and passion along the way while we work through feminine wounds. Sorrow and ecstasy never have to be divided. Grief and joy can share sacred space, and we don't have to be fully healed to reclaim our birthright of pleasure. The entire notion of heal first only holds us back from our ecstatic soul expression in this moment, because healing is the art of changing your relationship with your innermost being And this is a lifelong romance. So let's start to open our hearts to the totality of this existence. Right here, right now. Let's stay present with grace and curiosity, even in the midst of discomfort. Let's dance with the spectrum as we fully and uninhibitedly embody this unparalleled experience of being both human and woman. Let's claim the infinite pleasure, creativity, and vitality that is rightfully ours to coexist with all else within us. Now, that sounds like it's inviting people to participate in sexually promiscuous activity while not yet being healed of your own trauma. And if this is supposed to be an institute that teaches you to heal through meditation and breath work, and then tells you, but don't worry if you're fully healed, let's just get that pleasure on.
Come on down.
You can have ecstasy and pain at the same time. And in fact, wait until you're healed so that you can participate in the higher activities of pleasure and all of these other things and getting yourself involved.
Yep, and here's some me.
That's just holding you back. Jump in with 2 feet. Here's another quote from Kaya. I'm here to serve spirit. What spirit? The demon spirit?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm here to serve spirit. The breath found me and initiated me into this work. And the Sacred Breath Academy, birthed from the great beyond. The energies behind the academy are so much bigger than me. All is guided by the hand of the divine, by forces that want the world to heal and transform. I bow in the deepest of reverence. I don't really believe that these people have reverence for anything that is truly sacred or that is truly holy. They mock anything that is truly sacred and that is truly holy. And once again, I continue to find a lot of projection that looks like these folks are involved in some really creepy stuff, like cults, like sex cults. And let me show you this last post that I'm going to be touching on more in the future from Arturo Tafoya, where he talks about Snow White and 7 I Am. And there is a lot to unpack with regard to Snow White and Lisa Clapier and their cult and what all of that is involved with. And I will be bringing you all of that in my upcoming shows. But I do recommend highly that you go to the Conspiracy Distillery YouTube page, website, and check out what they have to tell you. One of the videos I'm going to play right now comes from the Conspiracy Distillery website, and I'm going to play it for you now with their permission. This has been edited by Arturo Tafoya, but it shows you how the Americans' ignorance or proclivity for cultism and for joining into and following these false prophets and gurus has always been the downfall of our society and of our democracy, and how the Russians have been exploiting that for a long, long time. Check out this video on the Conspiracy Distillery website titled, "The Only Way Out is In." It's a trap!
It's a trap.
You can close some of those other things. Soviet subversion of the free world. A conversation with Yuri Bezmenov, former propagandist for the KGB. Host, Edward Griffin.
Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, a great spiritual leader, or maybe a great charlatan and crook, depending on from which side you're looking at him. Beatles were trained at his ashram in Hardwar in India how to meditate. Mia Farrow and other useful idiots from Hollywood visited his school, and they returned back to United States absolutely zonked out of their minds with marijuana, hashish, and crazy ideas of meditation. To meditate, in other words, to isolate oneself from the current social and political issues of your own country, to get into your own bubble, to forget about troubles of the world, Obviously, KGB was very fascinated with such a beautiful school, such a brainwashing center for stupid Americans. I was dispatched by the KGB to check what kind of VIP Americans attend this school.
That's you on the left.
Yes, I'm on the left. I was trying to get enrolled in that school. Unfortunately, the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi asked too much. He wanted $500 American for enrollment. But my function was not actually to get enrolled in the school. My function was to discover what kind of people from United States attend this school. And we discovered that, yes, there are some influential members of family, public opinion makers of United States who come back with the crazy stories about Indian philosophy. Indians themselves look upon them as idiots, useful idiots. To say nothing about KGB, who looked at them as extremely naive, misguided people. Obviously, a VIP, say a wife of a congressman or a prominent Hollywood personality, after being trained in that school, is much more instrumental in the hands of manipulators of public opinion and KGB than a normal person who understands, who looks through this type of fake religious.
Thank you, divine, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent creator God, for filling this chamber with your white light of love.
The world watched as QAnon, that once only existed in the darkest corners of the internet, broke into the center of democracy. But yoga, meditation, and crystal healing, not typically what you'd expect from members of the far-right conspiracy group. How do you think QAnon became mainstream in the wellness community?
You know, where we go one, we go all. The Great Reset, the Great Happening. Where we go one, we go all. That's yoga. Oneness, unity. My liberation is bound.
Some call it pastel QAnon, a cross-section of conspiracy and spirituality thriving in the suburbs of Southern California. From the dark web and into the mainstream.
It felt like this odd trauma bond. How is something that I thought was so alt-right affecting a population that I presumed was progressive alt-left?
I just mentioned that because, you see, a person who is too much involved in introspective meditation. You see, if you carefully look what Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is teaching to Americans, is that most of the problems, most of the burning issues of today can be solved simply by meditating. Don't rock the boat. Don't get involved. Just sit down, look at your navel and meditate. And the things, due to some strange logic, due to cosmic vibration, will settle down by themselves. This is exactly what the KGB and Marxist-Leninist propaganda wants from Americans, to distract their opinion, attention, and mental energy from real issues of the United States into a non-issues, into a non-world, non-existent harmony. Obviously, it's more beneficial for the Soviet aggressors to have a bunch of duped Americans than Americans who are self-conscious, healthy, physically fit, and alert to the reality. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi obviously is not on the payroll of the KGB. But whether he knows it or not, he contributes greatly to demoralization of American society. And he's not the only one. There are hundreds of those gurus who come to your country to capitalize on naivete and stupidity of Americans. It's a fashion. It's a fashion to meditate. It's a fashion not to be involved.
Really aligned with the spiritual stuff, with we are on the dawn of the age of Aquarius. You know, we're on the precipice of a big change in humanity, this great reset. The world is going to change in a really positive way. We, at some point along the line, are going to be aided by benevolent spirits and aliens, basically. And I could prove it, you know, and I was showing that in my stories. I realize now, for people looking at it and like not knowing like what was going on in my head, it probably looked really bizarre.
Are you ready for Gaia? How can we be resilient?
in a world that's growing more volatile by the day, how can we thrive?
Don't buy into the fear. It's about waking up.
Explore the world's largest library of conscious media with thousands of films and original programs.
People all over the planet are waking up.
Gaia is ready for you.
We can adapt our lifestyle to this time of extremes.
For the seekers.
Inside, he was able to detect the fetus of some creature. It is clear by scientists that it's something different. It is not human.
The wanderers.
In ancient times, the Atlanteans were said to have an advanced technology and power supply based on crystals.
The dreamers.
My dream is to help people understand how the universe operates so that each person can find their own unique purpose within the cosmic plan.
And the doers.
Thoughts can have an effect on your brain, your body, and your life. And I'm going to show you how to rewire your mind, your heart, and your body.
For those who dare to travel their own path.
Our potential to access the supermind is no longer simply theoretical. How can we hack our history to change our future?
We are meant to learn again and again in this life that truth does indeed set us free.
Now we are proposing a new beginning, a new history for human beings.
And that is all I have for you. It just reminds me so much of how at the end of Standing Rock, and as we were reporting on how many of these folks were predating on unsuspecting people in devastated areas like Houston and Florida after the hurricanes and Puerto Rico after the hurricanes, etc., and even on into the caravans, how we had people from Standing Rock and the movement of water protectors saying, stand as stone. You know, yeah. we all stand together in prayer. And it's like this man was saying, they convince Americans to sit down and look at their navel and meditate away the problems of the world. Not get involved, not do anything, not protect the weak and the vulnerable, and to just be in your own little selfish bubble, like these people, these escapists, these con artists. And I will be bringing you more about how all of that translated into QAnon and sucked so many people into trying to destroy our democracy. And it took a Mexican.
Yep. A
Mexican crossing lines and a Mexican on Twitter that was part of the beginnings of the puzzle Cicada 3301, Arturo Tafoya.
Yep.
To explain it to you all. Thanks for being here with the Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Good night, and God bless.
Yeah.